Brian here in Durham, North Carolina. We're going to go visit the Washington Duke Homestead. He was the original Duke that founded the American Tobacco Company. He became one of the richest men in the country, as well as his family. Let's go look. The Duke Homestead, once the home of Washington Duke, is not even 3 miles northwest of the center of Durham. Washington was born in 1820. He acquired this land at the age of 22 when he married 17-year-old Mary Caroline Clinton in 1842. Mary's father gave the new couple 72 acres of land in Durham County, which became their farm and home. Mary gave birth to 2 sons, Sidney in 1844 and Brody in 1846. Then sadly, Mary took ill and died in 1847, leaving 1-year-old Brody and 3-year-old Sidney to be cared for by their father. Luckily, Washington received help from friends and relatives. His younger brother Robert and a young free black named Alexander Weaver both lived on and helped tend the farm. This building is the pack house. Cured tobacco leaves were brought to structures like this to be sorted according to quality and then packed in preparation for going to market. 7 years passed, and in 1852, Washington fell in love again. He married 23-year-old Miss Artelia Ronnie and built a new 4-room home for his family on the property. This is the home which became known as the Duke Homestead. It remains on the site today, more than 170 years old. Artelia provided 3 more children: daughter Mary in 1853, son Benjamin in 1855, and James in 1856, who everyone called by his nickname, Buck. Not all of Washington's children made it to adulthood. In 1858, typhoid fever took his eldest son, Sidney. But it didn't stop there. 10 days later, it took his wife, Artelia. She was 29 years old. A year later, it was 1859, and war clouds were on the horizon when South Carolina fired on Fort Sumter in Charleston Harbor in 1861. Washington was age 41, too old to be a soldier. But by 1863, the winds of war had changed. The draft age was raised to 45, and in 1864, the now 43-year-old Washington Duke was suddenly a Confederate soldier in the middle of a tragic war, which would take hundreds of thousands of lives before it was over. Washington's military service was short-lived, as he was captured and became a POW. When the conflict ended in April of 1865, he was released from prison and shipped to New Bern, North Carolina. He walked the remaining 135 miles back to his home in Durham. After the war, Washington made a decision to put his farming days behind him. That decision was going to change his life in ways he could not imagine. He converted his corn crib into a small factory, and his family began processing leaves and making pipe tobacco. They called their business W. Duke & Sons. Finding merchants to be eager buyers, Washington moved processing to a larger building to keep up with demand. This is the curing barn. Tobacco leaves were hung on racks to cure or dry as part of the process of getting them ready for market. Typically, a low fire was kept to provide heat to aid in drying the leaves. By the end of the 1860s, W. Duke & Sons were again expanding. What is commonly called the Third Factory was constructed to meet demand and still remains on the Duke Historic Site today. 4 years later, in 1874, the Dukes moved the processing of tobacco off their homestead into a larger facility in the city of Durham. In 1874, Washington sold the farm and moved the family into the city of Durham. This is the home Washington built in 1852. Behind the home is this well house and smokehouse typical of homes at this time. It was 1880 when Washington Duke retired at the age of 60, turning the family's business over to his now adult children. Demand for tobacco products continued to grow, and so did the family business. By 1887, the Dukes were one of the top 5 tobacco companies in the United States. In 1890, the 5 biggest firms merged together, forming the American Tobacco Company, with none other than James Duke as president. This placed him in control of the largest tobacco company in the world. Washington died in May of 1905 at the age of 84. The family continued to prosper into the 20th century. Their tobacco fortune resulted in Duke University, the formation of the Duke Energy Company, as well as the Duke Endowment. Today, what remains of the Duke fortune is not clear, as it resides in private trusts of several Duke descendants. That is going to do it for this explorer of the Duke Homestead here in Durham. Until the next time, remember, life is a journey. Enjoy the ride, and thanks for watching.